Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Success. I am thrilled to have my friend, co author, award winning talent leader, expert at skee ball. I'm going to say that too because I know you are. And also an entrepreneur for 10 plus years, Swati Garg on. Hi, Swati. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Parul. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for joining us. So today we're here to talk about, the world of talent acquisition and more frankly, what goes right and wrong in recruiting in organizations and how can we help guide companies to recruit better from the beginning, right? And recruit better with intentionality and with focus. So before we do that, let's just hear from you. Tell everyone about your story and kind of like what brought you into the world of talent acquisition.
It's kind of a whirlwind, right? Thank you so much for having me today. I don't think anyone decides to go into recruiting right away. You just kind of end up in it. A lot of people in talent, I think, will tell you this. Basically, my background, I have like a master's in HR, and I kind of did the traditional HR route first. I was an HR generalist. Then I moved into a specialty role in organization development and training and performance management. I ended up changing like four different industries. So I did like manufacturing, medical devices, consulting, and then I moved into recruiting. And so there was a lot of change, which is another reason I'm so passionate about the job search, which I know you and I talk about a lot in our work together. But it hasn't really been, it's been kind of a zigzag journey. So I think for me, it was, realizing that I'm really passionate about hiring the right people, helping people get their next job, understanding what teams look like, and how to really help um, like companies grow in that way. And I think over time, I just kind of kept specializing and specializing until I got to talent acquisition. I joined a executive search firm where I really fell in love with recruiting. And then soon after, started freelancing on my own, got my first client in customer success, which was really exciting a year into freelancing, and really just kind of fell in love with the role in the space. It has such strong business value. It is just obviously so beneficial and so needed once you kind of get those early customers, especially. So I just fell in love with the space and decided to focus in customer success recruitment. And then over time, we grew to all of post sales. And now we've grown to all of revenue, small and mighty, but we do all of revenue for all levels in North America. But we're really known for our like post sales hiring.
Awesome. Recruiting, I feel like is like, I don't know, it's such a pivotal point in a company's journey, but it's not always the most talked about thing, right? But it is very important. And so, since we're focused on helping people build better from the inside out, what I really want to understand from you is, what is so critical about recruiting and what are things that could go wrong essentially, right?
Yeah. Hiring the right people, is everything, right? I think that if you don't have the right skill set, the right partners, right fit, you can't really grow your product, you can't grow your team, you can't grow sales, you can't really grow anything because you don't have the right support around you to kind of move the needle, right? So a lot of things can go wrong if you hire the wrong person, right? So in general, right? And I'm just going to give a quick stat here, but like a bad hire can cost a company about 30% of someone's annual salary. And when you're early stage, those numbers can mean a lot, right? You're losing productivity costs, you're losing revenue, you're losing time, which when you're early, that's everything, right? Time is everything because you're trying to move as fast as you can while putting in the right structures. So, a lot of things could go wrong, right? I think that you're not going to grow as fast, right? You could be selling into the wrong people. You could be losing time to a competitor. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you aren't hiring the right people and you aren't putting that right structure in place. I always say that the first point of contact that a person has with a company is the job description, right? And you and I talk about this in the book as well. But it's very important to have a very clear job description so people can understand, like, you get a sense of culture, you get a sense of, what the company values. A lot of things can kind of go wrong when you have a bad hire, right? So you could be selling into the wrong ICP. You're going to be losing time when it comes to selling against your competitor because everyone will have competitors, right? You are not going to have the right people around you to kind of have that innovation and growth, right? By having the right people around you is everything when it comes to growing the company. And it's not just because, we're saying, oh, talent is your biggest resource, but talent is your biggest resource, but it's all the other things that kind of come with it.
That makes sense. I mean, I think like, obviously I can imagine a lot can go wrong. Tell me a little bit about what it looks like at an organization where things are going right. They're actually recruiting in a healthy way and they're building better from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of starts, like, I would say from the top, right? So you have a lot of alignment. Alignment would be my biggest word when it comes to what it looks like to recruit right, right? You have alignment on the needs of the role. You have alignment on the budget of the role and the flexibility of the role. You have alignment on the org structure of the role. And all of that combined makes a very clear job description, which is the first point of communication to future candidates and future employees. So I would say alignment is the biggest thing, right? They're communicating effectively. They understand, who are the key stakeholders, who's going to be in the interview process, and how are we doing this objectively, right? Every single person should have a different role in the interview process. You don't want every single person to be interviewing for the same thing, right? It doesn't really get you the right best person or kind of get you anywhere, right? You want everyone assessing different skills using their strengths, right? So I would say alignment is the biggest thing. When a company is recruiting right, the company is really aligned, right? When I'm working with a client, we ask to talk to the hiring manager. Sometimes we talk to the team. We'll talk to the people leaders or, COOs or CROs. We'll talk to multiple stakeholders. And when we do, the best companies and the easiest, shortest hires, no matter how difficult the search is when everyone is aligned and knows exactly what they want on their team.
Mm. And I imagine that's not always perfectly easy. I think back to like quick hiring at some of the startups we did and like usually just myself being a business leader and saying, "Hey, I need this role," and then recruiting some folks to help and interview them, but not always having the biggest sense of like, what is it that we need and how do we make this practice like an equitable one? So my next kind of question is, I happen to have like some HR background and I got training in equitable hiring practices, but I don't think that every company does that. So, what are some things that you have seen in the industry or practices that you recommend to drive that sort of like broader equity in the hiring process, especially when you have different roles and different types of people that are all jumping in to maybe do some interviewing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for like equitable practices, right? Like, I think first off, you want to start off with where you're sourcing the talent. So I think partnering with diverse job boards, partnering with communities, making sure that you're partnering with a recruiting firm or a talent firm, just getting outside of your network, no matter how you're doing that, right? I think early stage, maybe your first 10 to 20 employees, people are like, talking to like who they know, their alumni network, all of that. But you don't want to kind of get stuck on that, right? You want to make sure you have diversity of thought, and that's going to come from talking to these different networks and job boards. So I would say the first thing is making sure that you are sourcing from a diverse kind of group a pool. Especially once you're kind of getting past that really, really early employee count. I would say the second thing is just making sure you have really inclusive language in your job description, right? People sometimes will use, their pronouns or use or different things that just assume things about the role that they aren't inclusive. So you want to make sure that your job description is very, very inclusive, and that you're very open, and then you're also like just being really clear, right? If you need someone hybrid, you need someone hybrid. If you need someone remote, you need someone remote, right? But being really clear on what you need. The other way that people kind of, what's the word? People kind of filter people out is that they have way more requirements in the job that's actually needed, right? We've had so many job descriptions where people are like asking for like, certain coding languages. And then when I kind of dig deeper, like that's not necessary. We need a different technical skill set. But obviously, if they have the coding languages, they would have the skill set we need. So we have to kind of break that down so people are actually asking for what they need. So we're not filtering out good talent for no reason. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do for more equitable practices, but I would say diverse sourcing ways, making sure the job description is really inclusive, and then also making sure that the language on the job description is very accurate.
Yeah, I love that. And I've even heard of people like having maybe even workplace policies that didn't feel equitable to everybody,
Yeah.
like putting it on a job description of like, "Hey, we do weekly happy hour," and somebody's like, "Well, that's not a thing that I maybe can make because I have another obligation," right? So it's like even things in your culture can lead to inclusivity or making people feel like it's a place that they are going to feel welcome at. And interestingly, that you mentioned hiring outside your network because I think that's a thing that many, especially early stage companies don't do. They'll hire in with the people they know for a long time and they'll kind of fill that bench, you start to have similarity of thought. You start to lose those outliers, which is kind of sometimes the ways that you can supercharge your business if you're really having somebody that's thinking outside of the box. Yeah, I love hearing about those recommendations. So let's take a little shift. We're all talking about AI. I was literally Claude coding a little tool today for an upcoming workshop that we're actually hosting here in Chicago. I was curious, what's happening in the work that you do in recruitment? How is AI impacting the work? What are you seeing? Just give us a little sense of, both from your view, but also maybe some of the people that you work
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, with recruiting, like that's one of the things I'm learning right now. We have not implemented a lot of AI in our day to day workflow. I use it for things outside of recruiting, but I don't use it for recruiting now. But now that all these different tools are coming up, I'm actually in the process of kind of researching what tool I want to embed into my workflow because there's like so many popping up every day, but there's like at least 5 to 10 that are like getting some traction. So I want to kind of know like how it can help me move faster. But a lot of like where talent and AI is kind of intersecting is a lot of like things like sourcing, a lot of administrative tasks, note taking, a lot of things that anyone that customer facing could really use. So I'm trying to figure out where I can make my job easier, but also I don't want to impact my process too much because, I've had a very successful process. So you want to make sure, and I think I talk about this a lot, but you want to make sure that if you are embedding AI, it's not being helpful. You're not just doing it to add AI because everyone's adding AI and it's like a fancy word right now that everyone's using. I think that that's something I'm very, very aware of in my workflow because I like my workflow and I talk about this a lot. Like I really like my workflow. It's brought a lot of success to me, so I want to make sure if I'm adding a tool that it's going to help me and not just, not really create those efficiencies that I need. So I'm still trying to figure it out. There's a lot of different tools. One of the big tools that a lot of recruiters use is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is doing a lot of great things with AI for their talent clients. So I'm really excited to see the update that I'm going to get in a couple of months. Because I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. I think they've been kind of like implementing new features for the last year. So I'm really excited as my renewal is coming up. I'm trying to upgrade that. So I'm really pumped about what they're doing for talent leaders. And then yeah, we'll see what other tools I use. And but there's a lot going on right now, right? And it's kind of hard to keep up with it in every space. But also like when it comes to like applicant tracking systems, they're adding a lot of different AI features as well. So I think it's like important to see what tools that you're adding, but also kind of seeing what features your current systems already have to see if that can help you. Because
with.
everyone doesn't have this like unlimited AI budget, right? So I'm really trying to figure out like, where I can use it and where I don't want to use it, which I think is a very important question to ask.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I think you're right. That has changed a lot. And especially in recruiting. I mean, we wrote the book on it, right? How to hire in our customer success, which is a function we both, work in and plan. But as soon as our book came out, it was like, oh my gosh, so much changed. I actually talked about this on a podcast that they released a little snippet of today. And it was like, okay, you put out a book on how to hire and how to recruit and how to actually build a team in a function. And then, oh, lo and behold, the whole function is changing with AI. And so, but I just say it's like funny, but it's actually interesting because it kind of goes back to the core of this project. So, like, let's talk about this project for everyone that isn't aware. We co authored the Customer Success Talent Playbook with a team of 6 female customer success leaders. And I think, we have created an amazing asset. Of course, I'm biased, but I'm curious, what made this project important then? And then how are you sort of seeing that still play out, right? Because I believe it has staying power. What are you seeing as like sort of the points that people are taking away from it in this changing time?
Yeah, I mean, I think our book we focus on the customer success function, right? Shoot. One
Just
thing
for
I'll add.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So one thing I'll add to kind of what you just said is that, we have 6 sections in the book, right? Written by 6 amazing leaders. And every section is a dual section. So it's split by candidate and hiring manager. So one, they can get both perspectives, but they can also understand specifically how to kind of dig into like where they are at the moment, right? Because everyone's a candidate at some point, and a lot of people grow into being a hiring manager. And we really break down everything from how to job search or hire to titles to career paths to fit to community and networking to training. And the reason I'm breaking that down is because it's very holistic. And I think that it's an evergreen book that we focus on customer success, but it's actually extremely strong in for any function if you just kind of want to use the fundamentals. And so whether it's AI or whether a new technology comes up in a few years, right? I don't think it's going to change what we've written because we worked really hard to make sure that it's evergreen, that we're focusing on the fundamentals and we're focusing on things that people can use for a long time. These are skills that we've learned obviously over, 10, 20, 30 years based on our careers. And I think that it's going to be everlasting, and whether it's AI or something else, like, I don't think it's gonna make our book outdated in any way.
Yeah, and I fully agree. I mean, I think it's hard to see so much change so quickly, but at the same time, I think the principles remain, right? And that's what I was also sharing on this podcast is like, I wrote a section on titling and I actually feel titling is more important than ever. Like you and I are actually even doing a talent survey, which by the time we release this podcast is probably going to be out and ready for people to read. But the beauty of doing that work and the beauty of that effort is that we are still recognizing the changes there, but we know that the fundamentals are still so important. And that's what this book is really about is diving into the sections of this. And I love that you wrote a section on recruitment. And in a lot of ways, you're sort of giving back to the world, like from your work, teaching them, hey, how do I do the things that we've talked about today, right? Like, how do I set myself up for success? What are other ways the author group is helping to raise awareness in the community just for our listeners to know?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot, right? So we're doing, I think all of us have been well embedded into the community before we wrote the book. So everyone's like mentoring, they're speaking, they're attending conferences, they're doing one-on-one coaching or mentoring, whether it's just, out of the kindness of their heart or if it's part of their services. But everyone is doing a lot for the community. And like, I think moving forward now, we're kind of taking all of that. We're trying to figure out, what's going to be the next best thing for the community. So, I mean, we can talk about it, another time as we're digging into it more. But right now, we're trying to figure out what's going to be our next big project where we leverage the book. And it is a work in progress, but I'm really excited about sharing that with everyone really soon.
Absolutely. And it is important to note that, writing a book is such an undertaking, but the learnings from that can really carry on for a long time. And, I think one of the best things for me as a leader is also just being able to give this book to people, right? When I hear people talk about, I'm looking for a job in customer success, or hey, I'm looking for, and I'm going to start hiring my first hire ever. It's like, here's this book, take this piece of, this living sort of guide and help them to really expand their knowledge base. It's been probably the most rewarding part for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think like being able to like think about what I say again and again in all these one-on-one conversations and being able to put it in like this context. Yeah, where I can just be like, here you go. And I've referenced the book so many times because I'm like saying it. I'm like, well, this is exactly what I wrote in my section.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been ingrained in us, and I think this has been one a really fun opportunity for us to like take everything we've done in our careers and kind of share this with the community, but it's also a great resource for people to have because we they can't always talk to all of us one on one, and they're getting very real practical advice. Like I do think what we've created is amazing. I mean, we spent 22 months creating this book, and I know that I don't know how long it takes other people, but that's a long time for one resource, but we definitely focused on making sure the quality was really high, and we hope check it out and enjoy it.
Yes, please do check it out. We'll drop the link in our show notes. Okay, so obviously we're here to talk about recruiting, right? That's been the main topic of the day. If do you have any thoughts, like, hey, let's just say I'm somebody listening in, right? And I'm gonna start building out my team. What are just some baseline things, fundamentals? And obviously, this is all in the book, so you can go and find it there. But give us a couple of things that you maybe help some of these companies and the companies you work with just start off with, start to think about to get their head right, to get their space right so that they can actually do this task.
Yeah, I think the first thing is like understanding and making sure, and I'm going to use the word alignment again, but like if you do have a team or if you're an individual, just making sure that you know exactly that what you want and what you need and making sure you're talking about that as a group, right? Don't create a job description alone. Don't think about the role by yourself. You really want to see what makes sense. And I would say the second biggest thing is making sure you're hiring for the short term and the long term, right? Everyone is not, there's when you talk to enough people, right? People are like, I'm a builder, right? And some people are like, no, I'm an improver, right? And some people are like, I'm a maintainer. And that's all great, right? There's nothing, one's not better than the other, but everyone tends to have a style that they tend to gravitate towards. After a few jobs, you tend to get excited about the same things.
Yeah.
And I think that is really important to understand, like, what kind of person you're hiring for and how they're going to grow into the role and how that's going to change because you don't want to hire for just the next 6 months, right? You want to hire for at least the next couple of years. Somebody who might be really great early stage, they might not be so great mid stage, and that's okay. So either you change roles or you kind of understand that, they might just be here for, 3 to 5 years and that's okay. And so I think, changing teams, evolving teams, like none of that is bad. I think that I would really try to understand, like, from hire from a lens of understanding, like, alignment and making sure you know what you need now and what you need in the near future.
Okay, let's flip that script for somebody looking for a job, right? What would be some basic guidelines you might give them, especially in this market, which is like, I don't know, call it tumultuous a little bit, right? But, what are some key, like, sort of insights that you might share with somebody looking for a job?
I think if you're looking for a job, and I have these calls every single day, but I think the biggest things I would say that if you're looking for a job is, make sure that you know what you want, right? I think a lot of people are looking for jobs and they're trying to keep their options wide because they need a job and they're like, you know what, I can do a lot of different things. But you are competing against experts. You need to figure out, okay, what am I an expert in? What do I want to keep doing? And what can I bring value in immediately, right? It might be industry experience, it might be some technical, language that you understand that other people don't. You might have a specific analytical lens, right? Like you might have really strong enterprise experience. That's what the company needs. Whatever it is, understand like what your expertise is and your strength is and how that's going to differentiate you for the roles that you're applying for. Because if you say you can do a lot of things, it's hard to kind of get a position because you were competing against someone's like, this is exactly what I'm really, really good at. So my biggest recommendation for someone looking for a job is to figure out like what you are exactly really good at and want to do. So that's why I would say what you're really, really good at, but also want to keep doing, and then rebrand yourself. Make sure your LinkedIn, your resume, and your pitch are all positioned for that thing, and then go after that thing because now you will be the expert for that job.
That's awesome. I mean, now more than ever, I mean, I hate to say this, but people are just like, oh, I applied for 100 jobs today on LinkedIn. What percentage of those 100 were the jobs that you actually wanted? And I think that's also, I mean, I'm going to just harp on the book for another minute, like why we talk about even the value of network and community and talking to people from companies, doing informational interviews, understanding what it's really like to work at places well before you ever even need to like possibly be recruited there can help you also get a sense of the types of companies you want to work at, right? And what might be a good overall fit. So yeah, so we're just gonna just say buy the book. Just kidding. Uh, Thank you so much, Swati. I think we had a pretty rich conversation, and I think this will be very helpful for anyone navigating the job market, navigating recruitment, really trying to understand just some, what are the baseline elements. And if you want all of Swati's secrets, you can get it in section one. But thank you so much, Swati, for joining today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Parl. This was so fun. I'm glad that we kind of got to talk about a lot of different things, including our work together.
I know, exactly. We do a lot together and we enjoy it. So it's wonderful in the podcast. We're just rounding out and doing everything together. Well, thanks everyone. I hope to see you back in another episode of the Business of Success and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to the Business of Success. If today's conversation sparked a new way of thinking about growth, value, talent, leadership, don't forget to follow along and share this episode with someone who is building something meaningful. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Customer Success, which is helping organizations design customer value, build better and higher impact teams, and turn success into a growth strategy. You can learn more about Customer X Success at www.customerxsuccess.com. I'm Parul Bhandari, and this is the Business of Success, where success is built, not just chased. Until next time, see you soon.